So far this year, I have made over $60,000 in brand deal revenue, which is a big improvement for me over last year in 2021 when I made just under $20,000 in brand deal revenue. Now, I'll be honest, I don't know how my stats compare to other people in the influencer world in general, but I'm super happy with it, so it's impressive as far as I know. And yes, this growth year over year is partially due to the growth of my YouTube channel, but my YouTube channel has not tripled in size, yet my brand deal revenue has, and I think that is at least partially due to my own processes that I put in place back in January of this year. I developed a system for staying organized, staying in contact with brands that has allowed me to have more consistent and higher paid brand deal opportunities. So in this video, I'm going to share that process with you so that you can start increasing your brand deal revenue. And so hopefully in this coming year, if you have been looking forward to making brand deals a bigger part of one of your income streams, then hopefully this will help. Okay, so what exactly are brand deals? Let's very quickly go over the basics just in case you're new to this, and I promise I won't take very long at all. I will not take any longer than it takes to make myself a quick iced coffee because trust me, I need this. Brand deals or sponsored content or brand partnerships, whatever you want to call them, they all basically mean the same thing. And essentially what it is an agreement between a content creator and a brand to promote said brand in the content creator's content. This can be in a YouTube video, in Instagram stories, anywhere you post content, you could post a brand deal. There are different ways that brands pay for this, but the most common is a flat rate fee. So essentially, as a creator, you will charge a brand a set amount for a certain scope of work. So say a YouTube integration, an Instagram story series, whatever it might be. And then usually the brand will have a set of specifications of, features of their product or service or special offers that they'll want the creator to talk about. So you'll have like a creative brief that you agree on. Cheers. Sounds easy, right? Well, I'm not gonna lie, it is a pretty awesome income stream as a content creator because it generally means that you get to make the same content that you usually would, talk about brands that you already know and love, and obviously make some money off of it. But that being said, it's not exactly easy. The hardest part is just getting these opportunities to work with brands in the first place. So let's talk a bit about how to get these coveted brand deals. There are two main methods for acquiring brand deal opportunities, and it's pretty straightforward. Number one is reaching out to brands, and number two is having brands reach out to you. So let's talk about both. So in the first method, reaching out to brands, sometimes called pitching brands. I'll be real, this is definitely the most energy intensive method for getting brand deals, and it is pretty difficult. This is kind of like the brute force method of just getting out there and trying to get in contact with people who might want to work with you. And it is difficult, but it is possible. If you want to do this, the very first step is going to be writing a professional pitch email and having a good template on hand. And I actually do have a brand pitch template that you can grab for free. I'll leave the link in the description. It's one that I wrote for myself back in the day when I was pitching brands more often. And it's the same template that I used to actually get myself a free trip to Ecuador where I shot content for a travel company. So if you want to check that out, it's totally free. You can grab it in the description. It'll just help you get a starting point for reaching out to brands in a professional and clear way that's going to be most likely to actually end up in a brand deal for you. Once you have a template in place, it's really just about figuring out who to pitch to. So you might want to come up with a list of the kinds of brands that you might want to work with. I recommend starting with small to medium-sized companies if you are at a kind of earlier point in your journey, if you have a smaller audience. And then as you grow your audience, you might be able to get some of those bigger brands. It's also important to think about who your specific target audience is and what your niche is, and find companies who want to reach that sort of audience. So think about what kind of customers your target audience might be and what kind of brands might align with that. then you can go ahead and just start researching. You might want to creep around on LinkedIn for people at your desired companies and look for terms like partnerships or influencer marketing and see what kind of names come up. And then you might just have to play the email guessing game. Like I was saying, I'll be honest, this is difficult. This is energy intensive, but it is a way to get started. And I think by just practicing your email pitch skills, like that's going to be helpful for you down the road, even if you eventually start getting brands coming to you. So it's a good way to get started. Okay, now let's talk about number 2, which is brands reaching out to you. It kind of sounds like something that's sort of outside of our control, right? Well, that is true to a certain extent, yes, but there are definitely things that you can do to make yourself more discoverable to the kinds of brands who might want to work with you. So how can you do this? For one, you can make sure that your profiles are SEO optimized. You have to put yourself in the shoes of a potential brand partnerships manager at one of the companies you might want to work with. Think about it from their perspective. How are they finding influencers? Well, they might be searching for content creators that are inside their niche of interest. So make sure that you have the right keywords in your profile so that these partnerships managers can find you. Another important component is making the kind of content that brands might want to sponsor. For example, I talk about being a content creator, I talk about having an online business. So brands who want to connect with content creators and online business owners will find me because they're looking for content like that. So let's just say, for example, you want to work with like a skincare brand or a hair care brand. Well, it might be helpful for you to start making hair tutorials or even videos reviewing other hair or skin products. I think it's really useful if you have organic examples like content that you made about brands that you like just because you genuinely like them, because this will give brands a sense of what it might look like if they paid you to make content about them. And finally, this might seem pretty straightforward, but make sure that you are tagging the brands that you want to work with in the content that you make about them. Okay, so we've covered how you get in contact with these brands. Maybe you've pitched a brand and they've actually responded, or a brand has reached out to you. Once you're at this stage, how can you optimize the amount of money that you're making from each brand deal? There are a few main strategies for this that I want to share with you. The first is expanding the scope of your partnership. Maybe the brand has asked for a YouTube integration and you can reply by saying, I would love to do a YouTube integration with you, but in my experience, my YouTube integrations perform best if they are also paired with an Instagram story set. So you're essentially upselling them, adding more content to the package, and therefore increasing the package price. The second method is pitching exclusivity, or just to be honest with you, looking out for the exclusivity terms that almost all brands will just include in the contract. They will kind of like agree to a rate with you and then just slip into the contract that you have to be exclusive to them for like 2 months after the publication date. Make sure that you're charging for that. Or if they didn't include it in the contract, you can pitch to them, hey, like I offer exclusivity. This means that you won't work with any of their competitors for a set amount of time post the content's publication. I recommend charging maybe like a percentage of the package price as an additional fee, or if this is like a really big opportunity for you, consider what the lost revenue might be if you are exclusive to that brand. So if they have a list of competitors that you would likely be working with, think about how much those potential brand deals may add up to, and then make sure you're charging for that to be exclusive to the brand you're talking to. Number 3, you can offer boosting and usage rights. Essentially what this means is you allow the brand to use your content on their own pages or to put ad dollars behind the content that you have posted. Again, this is something that a lot of brands will just include in the contract, so you need to look out for that and say, hey, I actually do charge extra for usage rights. When I first got started, this was something that I didn't give any second thought to because I was like, of course, go ahead, use it. I want you to use it and post about me and all of that. And that can be fine in certain circumstances, and there are brands that I, trust and would be like, yeah, I'm totally happy to be associated with them in the long term. But you do want to think about if you just give a brand like usage rights in perpetuity, that brand could at some point go through some sort of scandal and your face could still be on their website, even though it might be years after you work with them. Or in the case of boosting rights, if you just automatically let a brand put ad dollars behind your content, you might be opening yourself up to Facebook comments that you don't necessarily want. This has happened to me in the past where I didn't realize that, boosting rights were included in the contract, or I was kind of negligent and I should have looked out for that. And then it ended up that the integration from my YouTube video is being used as a Facebook ad for months and months. And people in my audience were like, why do I keep seeing this ad? And, anytime you advertise on Facebook or any platform, you're going to kind of get more mean comments because you're pushing yourself outside of your typical audience and community. So just consider there is a value to allowing a brand to use your likeness in their marketing or to boost content on your behalf. And so you want to make sure you're charging for that. Again, for this, I would recommend doing a percentage of the total package price per month that you are allowing them to use your content. So maybe 10 or 15%. Number 4 is pitching UGC content as part of your content package. So this is kind of like usage rights, but it's a little bit different in that you can offer to the brand that you will make content specifically for their platform. So it's different because you're creating it for their audience, for their context, not necessarily for your own pages. And then, with usage rights, they would just kind of repurpose what you made for your page onto their own. So it can be even more valuable to them if you offer to create content that is designed for their social platforms. And finally, number 5, one of the best ways that you can increase your brand deal rates is by increasing your content's quality and professionalism. This will really show brands that you are worth investing in and that your potentially higher package rates are worth it because of the outcome. If you want to increase your content creation skills to get more and better brand deals, then you might want to check out Skillshare. If you've been watching my channel for a while now, then you'll know that Skillshare is my go-to place to learn new creative skills. But if you're new here, don't worry, I'll get you up to speed. Skillshare is an online learning platform full of thousands of classes for creative and curious people like you and me. You can learn everything from graphic design to social media marketing to film photography to video editing and animation. If you want to improve your video skills to attract more and better brand deals, you could consider taking Halise Nervea's course on Skillshare called Learn Adobe Premiere Pro and Edit a How-To Video for YouTube. Tutorial videos are always a great candidate for sponsorship because brands love to be the thing that you are teaching how to do, whether that is a tutorial on editing software or even how to use certain skincare products for best results. Whatever it might be, tutorial content is perfect for sponsorship. So taking this Skillshare course by Halise will be a great way to improve your skills on those tutorial videos. Plus, Skillshare is totally ad-free and they're always adding new premium courses to the platform, so you can keep on learning and up-leveling your skills. So if you're ready to improve your video skills and land those brand deals that you've been dreaming of, make sure you go ahead and sign up for Skillshare at the link in the description. The first 1,000 of you that use my link will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Now that we've covered how you can get brand deals and how you can increase your payout on them, let's quickly run through what I like to call my professional brand deal checklist. This is that process that I talked about at the beginning of the video that I've implemented since the beginning of this year that allows me to maintain better long-term relationships with brands and keep on getting consistent brand deal opportunities. Honestly, I think a lot of influencers, because they don't necessarily set out to become business owners, they're creative, they went viral on TikTok, whatever it might be, a lot of them are kind of operating on a fly by the seat of their pants kind of basis. So I really think in the world of content creators, if you can be professional and organized and on top of your timelines, you can really make yourself stand out and brands will like to work with you because you just make it easy. And implementing this process will help you do that. Okay, so here are the 7 steps that you're gonna wanna go through for each and every brand deal. First things first, once you have connected with a brand, you're gonna wanna establish the timeline in terms of the project. So this includes what kind of content are you making for them? Are you doing a YouTube integration, Instagram stories, a TikTok, whatever it might be, and when are you posting it? Once this is established, you move on to step 2, which is signing the contract. Make sure you take your time and read through the contract because you can look out for some of those things that I mentioned earlier, like have they included exclusivity in there? Have they included usage rights? And if so, you're gonna wanna reply and negotiate the contract with them and say, hey, you know what, I normally actually charge X% or whatever for these things that you've included in the contract, and you can have that conversation with them. I know it seems scary, but the worst thing that they'll do at this point is just come back and say, sorry for the rate that you gave us already. We need to include usage and exclusivity. And at that point, you can decide whether you want to move forward or turn it down. In my experience, if a brand's already got to the point of sending you a contract, they're not going to just totally ghost you and walk away if you ask for more money. They might not agree to it, but they're not going to just ignore you. Once the contract is signed and you've agreed to everything and you've started working on the contract, the third step is to send your concepts for approval. Not all brands are going to require this. Sometimes you'll see this required in the contract, but I generally like to send my ideas or outline to the brand before I go ahead and film anything, because then I can make sure that I'm on the right track, and it's just gonna save me work down the line. If they have feedback or they want me to change the wording or whatever, I know ahead of time, so then I don't have to reshoot anything. Okay, once you got approval from the brand, we're moving on to step number 4, which is actually creating the content, and then of course, sending that content for review once it's ready. So you film your video, you create your reel, whatever it might be, and then you find a way to submit it to the brand so they can review it. On YouTube, this is easy. You send them an unlisted video link so they can preview like the whole experience of watching the video. If it's something like Instagram stories or reels, I normally send it over Google Drive, and I try to label all the files really clearly so it's easy for them to review. Number 5 is actually publishing the content and immediately following that up by sending the brand an invoice for the project and any requisite tax forms. Sometimes I will even schedule an email ahead of time so I don't forget to send this. Most brands are going to require that you send them an invoice in order to actually get paid, so you're going to want to do that ASAP. And for me, as a Canadian creator that is often working with American brands, I also normally have to send along a W-8 Ben form, which is just a tax form that American companies need. But you're gonna have to look into whatever that might be in your specific situation. If you're an American mostly working with American companies, I think it would be a W-9 form. Step 6 is following up with the results. Normally, if it's a YouTube integration, I like to follow up a week later and share the stats of the video. If it's a Instagram story campaign, it's gonna be like 24 hours later. If it's a reel, normally I like to do a week as well, because you can still see views come in several days after you post a reel. And step number 7 is to follow up with your brand contact 3 months, maybe 6 months later, pitching another partnership. This is where you can come back and say, I loved working with you so much. I think we saw really great results and I'd love to work together on another YouTube integration or whatever it is. And this is really key. This is where you can get into a consistent cycle of having brand deals to work on. And generally, if brands find an influencer that works for them and they get good results from your content, they're gonna wanna keep working with you in the future, because it's a lot easier for them to work with the creators they already know rather than having to go out and find new people. So if you make that contact, it's so valuable to keep in touch with them. The most important part of this whole process is keeping it organized and tracking all of this, which can get a little bit stressful when you're working with several brands at once, which is why I created my brand partnerships tracker, which is included in my Notion content creator bundle. So if you want a bunch of Notion templates that are gonna help you stay organized and professional as a content creator, definitely check out that Notion template bundle. I'll have it linked in the description below. Specifically, the brand partnerships tracker is what I implemented at the beginning of this year using this 7-step process, and it's what's helped me triple my brand deal revenue this year. So definitely check it out if you want to get organized. And the other piece of this puzzle is, if you really want to increase your brand deal revenue, a big part of that is going to be increasing your video views, because obviously you'll be able to just charge more if you have a bigger audience. And this is something that I've also been really focused on this year, because going into this year, I'll be honest, I was pretty insecure about the number of views that my YouTube videos were getting versus how many subscribers I had. I felt like it was a big mismatch, but I'm really proud of how I've been able to increase my click-through rates and my views, and I've made a bunch of videos talking about how I've done that. So if you want to learn about how you can increase your YouTube views and how I've done it over the past few months, check out this video next. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I wish you all the best in getting that bag, getting that brand deal revenue, and I hope you're having adventures and following your dreams, and I'll see you over in this video. Okay, bye.